This is another episode of Flavor in Your Ear podcast.
Here comes a brand new flavor in your ear.
A podcast about damn near any and every topic with no filter and zero regard for the easily offended.
Everything you say upsets somebody.
Please welcome the man behind the madness.
The most important person with all due respect.
Let's go!
Your host and audio flavor maestro,
My man.
Marquise Edwards.
What is going on, everyone? Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are back with another episode of Flavor in Your Ear podcast. And as always, it's me, Marquise, and I'm here hosting another great show with another great guest. I've been reaching out to a bunch of outstanding women that have stories and are very inspiring. And I hope all of my listeners, male and female, can take something from these conversations I'm having, because I feel like they're extremely important. In my green room session here with Debbie, I was just telling her, just a little bit about myself and how I'm picky with who I talk to, and just allowing her to be on the stage and be able to talk about herself, right? And be able to tell her story. And I'm just a listener with you all as well, right? And really appreciate those who I've told her this to as well, to have the courage to be able to tell their stories, because I know a lot of us, we all have stories, and sometimes they may not be as flashy or glamorous as we think, right? And it takes a lot to meet someone who you just met for a few minutes and be able to just be yourself and express those things. And I really appreciate that. So I want to feel as comfortable as possible and know that I am, in her corner for this conversation as well. Hopefully we inspire, anyone else that may be listening as well. And you all can go out and listen to her podcast as well, which we will talk about towards the end of the conversation. So, Debbie Freeman, say hey to everybody, Debbie. Say it so you can know I'm not talking to myself.
Hello, Marquise. Thank you so much for having me today. I love that your podcast is all about, inspiring people, and definitely that you love women empowerment, because I'm very big on that. That's I've gone through a lot, and I have a big story to tell. And I hope that I inspire your audience and keep them strong, because I've been through some pretty rough times. And, like we were talking before we started, it's hard to talk. Just like you said, it's hard to share your story sometimes because you're embarrassed. You don't want people to know. And that's exactly how I felt when I first started, or when I came out of my divorce. But let me go back a little bit before that.
Okay.
My divorce hasn't really made me who I am, but it plays a big part of my my midlife crisis, I guess you would say. So my story starts with just being a little girl, being ambitious, and always doing and what I wanted to do in life. I was very focused in life. I owned my own dance studio at 19. And then from there I went on. I became an Atlanta Hawks dancer. I auditioned with 400 people when I did that, over 400 people, and they only picked 12 girls that year. I was one of them. And I did that for about 3 years. And then I made the Radio City Rockettes, and I went up to New York, and I did that for 10 years. Became the dance captain. I ended up choreographing my own show at the Venetian. I've been a magic assistant. I've done a lot of things. I continue to stay busy, but I was always focused and driven to whatever it was I wanted to do. I was going to do it and be the best at it, whatever it was. And I've always been that way. But, living that kind of a lifestyle, I was ready to go ahead and get married and have children. And that's not the lifestyle you want, is going in to work at 5 p.m. Some people do have to do it. I understand it, but, I didn't want to. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have kids. So I ended up, I guess, settling. I don't know how else to put it. I ended up making the wrong choice. The man I was married to for 16 years was an alcoholic. And I'm not saying anything bad about alcoholics, because, we all have our vices, so to speak, kind of how we hide things, or we deafen things when we're in pain. Mine was emotional eating. when I got depressed, I ate. Some people, they bury themselves into their work. They drink. They take drugs. You do something to deafen, right? Than to have to really face your emotions and the problems that you're really going through. Mine was eating. I was in a marriage where, I'd ask him if he was coming to bed, and he would tell me, yeah, I'm coming. He would never come to bed. After doing this for so long, he'd finally come, and I'd be like, well, it's been a year. He'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, you're imagining things. I go, no, it was last Valentine's Day. I remember. Yeah. And that went on for about 6 years, the last 6 years of our marriage. I don't know of any man, and I would tell him, and we'd have arguments. I don't know of any man that can go a year without. I mean, you just don't do that. And I kind of put it in my head to whereas he was just stressing. It was just work. He was stressed, and of course I took the chips to bed. I took the cookies to bed, the ice cream to bed. And that's what I did, without really looking and noticing. But throughout our whole marriage, every 3 years, he would lose his job and he'd come up with a story. And I would tell my parents the story of why he lost his job. We'd go through hard times every 3 years. And my parents would go, Debbie, that doesn't sound right. And I'd go, no, that's what happened. That's what because I'm going to stand behind my husband. Mm-hmm. Well, he ended up, every three years this would happen. And it's probably because he was out drinking or I don't know. And you listen, you have this intuition that goes, Debbie, you know what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But you don't. You put the blinders on because you'd rather not think about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I did, is I put my blinders on and I just went, no, he's just stressed. That's all it is. Mm. I thought I was in this beautiful, perfect marriage. But I mean, and I would joke around. I'd go, I'm in a loveless marriage. Because I was never with my husband, and yeah, it was very strange. So one night when he got back to drinking all the time again, and, the whole time we were together, he would never admit he was drinking. Even if he smelled, I could, smoking, drinking all over him. He never admitted it. And what they say is that when people, they lie and they don't admit it, they believe their own lies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what he was thinking, but then he would turn it around. He was like a narcissist. He would turn it around that, well, you blah, blah, blah. And he would make up something total. We weren't even in that subject, but be able to talk about me and something bad that I did. So of course you get yourself feeling that you're the bad person, and around the end of it there, I wouldn't even comment on him. I was so depressed. We would go from month to month to where I was paying the auto bill, but I couldn't pay this bill, or paid the utilities, but I couldn't pay the auto, or you're balancing back and forth because he's telling me that the paychecks aren't coming in because of whatever reason. Oh, but I'll get paid this amount next month, and then it would never come. So I feel like my legs have got these balls and chains on them. I can't move forward. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. I'm depressed. I can't move. I'm not happy at all. And I'm trying to raise 2 kids, and I'm trying to, be the best mom that I can be, because that's what we want to do. Right. And one day I come home, he's drunk, and of course not admitting it. And I said, well, I have to have my mom come over because I have to go somewhere special, and I can't leave you with my son like this. Right. Okay. So I leave. I come back. My mother tells me he left with a suitcase. I'm like, okay. I don't know. The next morning I wake up and I look at our savings account. We had just sold our house that we had owned for 12 years. So we had a big savings. Gone. savings account gone. And I'm sitting here going, okay. I'm frantic because you're like, what's going on? Who is this person? Where am I? I go to his email. He left it open on his computer. Okay. And in his emails, he's got an email of this woman he's going to meet the next day and have a date with her to talk about car stuff. He lost his job from selling cars, yet he was going to meet this woman and he was talking about like he was going to help her and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you can't even help yourself. And then I see all these matchmaking things that he's, associated with. So he's dating women on the side and doing all this stuff. He has this whole secret life that I didn't even know about. So that night when he left, he ended up totaling his car, DUI, thrown in jail. And, that's why I hadn't heard from him. He was in jail till Wednesday. This was on a Monday. He was on jail till Wednesday. Okay? Still no call from him whatsoever. By Thursday, I'm looking at his email. He's asking for an increase on his credit cards. By later that afternoon, they're declining him and saying, you're cut off. You've used all of your credit. Where did he use all this money? I have no idea, once again, where he is. Every night, my children and they're sleeping in the bed with me because we don't know who this person is. We're scared to death because you hear of men going crazy and, sorry, you're a man. But I mean, we've heard of just people going crazy and just shooting up their spouse.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to live anymore, depression. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know this person to be doing something like this.
Right.
So we go to bed with a chair underneath the door because I don't know what else to do. And finally, I get the locks changed on the doors, but I forgot to change one lock, the one that led to the side den. So he comes home on Saturday, hadn't heard from him this entire time, just watching his emails and who he's emailing. That was interesting. And all this is revealed to me. I'd been going through life like this with these blinders on, and this whole new world has been open to me. He comes in and he starts yelling at me. Why are these doors changed? Why doesn't my key work? Blah, 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 blah. I go, excuse me. I know where you've been. I already have a restraint out for you, and I've already started the divorce papers. What? Just couldn't believe it. When did you have time to do that? I've had all week.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Then begs me to sleep in the guest bedroom. I guess he thought he was going to sleep in the guest bedroom, live off of our savings while I went to work every day and took care of the kids. Because basically that's, what he's been doing anyway, right? Sleeping on the sofa, living off our savings, not getting a job. This is where he's at. And I just got him the most perfect job, a finance job in auto sales. That's like one of the highest jobs you can get. Mm-hmm. All right. In this wonderful place. My friend helped me get him in there. He showed up to work one day and he told the boss, he says, I don't think this is right for me. And left. Yeah. And for 3 days, I kept asking him why he wasn't going into work. He says, oh, they don't need me today. Yeah. Wow. So anyway, our whole marriage was nothing but lies. And for other women out there, if your intuition is telling you something, listen to it. Don't go through blunders like I did through life like this and find out before. I wasted so much time. And I was so unhappy and so depressed. And there was no need for that. Now, you could say, but maybe he was going through troubles and you should have been beside him. Okay, I do understand that. So after I kicked him out, he went to rehab, used the money because they wouldn't give me the cashier's check he took with the savings account because it was on both of our names. So there's something else you guys should know. If it comes from an account, savings account, checking account, whatever, both your names on it, they gave it to him. not to me,
Mm-hmm.
because they took it from him. They gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he ended up going to rehab, told me he was going to rehab because he wanted to. I looked it up. The court ordered him to. Yet he was lying to me again. Again, just another lie to get what he wanted. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So a few months go by, and he's been in rehab. Well, I don't know if you know about rehab, but they go to there's rehab, you go, you're basically getting clean. They pay, you're eating, taking classes all day, you're meeting people, it's men and women. Things go on. That's all I'm going to say with the exclamation points. Well, I show up at one of these places, and he's just hates it that I'm there. Basically didn't want anyone to know he was married. Okay? Now he's got, to tell all these people, explain who I am. So I'm sitting there, and he sits with me in the desk area. He wouldn't go anywhere private with me, which I had known. He said he wasn't allowed to leave the place. He was. I was watching his account. His bank account. He was spending money at a billiards room down the street. So he's lying again. I'm sitting there, the whole thing was a lie. And I asked him, how many times did you cheat and lie on me? And he says, Debbie, it's been so many times, it doesn't even matter. Boom. That just tells me you don't respect me.
Right.
Because I'm hurting right now. If you cared about me, we could be open and honest. But he doesn't even care to give me any kind of honesty whatsoever because he doesn't want to have to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He doesn't. It's too much for him. He doesn't want to deal with it. That's to me pure selfishness. Then I said, "Do you love me?" And he says, "I love your kids." And I'm like, okay. I finish our conversation, and I'll tell you, Marquise, I leave there, and I felt like the angels from God had lifted this weight right off my shoulders. As I can envision in my head turning the key to my car to open up the door and thinking, being happy and going, I just got my life back. This is freedom. I can make the choices for my kids and myself. I am in control. I can do whatever I want to. Now, how am I going to take care of this? I'm going to figure it out. And I sat there and I was like, women, if you are in a situation with physical abuse, mental abuse. Mine was mental abuse. He didn't physically abuse me. He mentally abused me. I gained 100 pounds. I lost my self-esteem, my confidence. I felt so bad. I was depressed and unhappy for so many years. Yet God was saying, Debbie, you can do this. And I walked away. I went home. And I was determined, I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to be the role model for my kids. I didn't know what he was going to do with his life, but I couldn't count on that. All I could count on was what I could do. What can I be responsible for? How am I going to take charge? And I started eating better, diet, exercise, and determination of I'm going to make it happen for me and my kids. We're going to survive. I'm going to do this. I can do this. And so women, if you're out there, whatever abuse you're going through, you got to be strong for you. If you have kids, for them, they need you. Be strong. You can do anything you put your mind to it. And that's something I've always believed, which is why, like the first part of the story, is why I became a rockette. Why I became dance captain, why I choreographed because I believe my mother backed me the whole time. She always told me this. You can do anything you set your mind on. And so many times as parents, we belittle our kids. You know, you could say, that's just not a smart thing to do. That's stupid. No, never say anything like that. We want to encourage our kids that they can do and be whoever they want to be. And it was because of that belief in me that my mother gave me that I had the strength to do this. You know, and I believe we all have we lead different lives and we hear different things. But what are you going to believe? And that's the thing. What kind of disbeliefs are you carrying on yourself? And my disbelief was that I was ugly. My husband made me feel ugly. You know, he made me feel like less than, unattractive. My self-esteem was so shot. So I was ready to get it back. Get me back. I lost 100 pounds. And from there, I used to choreograph pageants and stuff when I was heavier. And I kind of laughed with the director. I said, you know, it's too fun. It's funny that I can't be Mrs. Nevada, right? In her pageant. And she was like, no, but you could. She goes, give me a call. So I entered her pageant. And that year, at 49 years old, I became first runner-up to the winner at 22. She was 22 years old, and I'm 49.
Nice. Wow.
So then after that, I felt like that was a dress rehearsal. So another woman says, Debbie, mine's in just a few more months. Why don't you come join mine? And I said, I might as well. I've worked this hard. And I'm feeling good. I'm ready. So I went, and I have to say, a lot of people believe that pageants, they think of toddlers and tiaras. Or, you know, they think of, I don't know, just women that talk about each other and this, that, and the other. But I didn't have that experience. All the women I met, I became good friends with. We all love to do charity stuff together. We all support each other. If my girlfriend's, she's having a bridal show tomorrow, I'm going to go for her.
Nice.
I'm going to support my girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? We pick each other up. That's what I loved. And the fact that I made first runner-up to a 22-year-old, I was like, I love these people. If anything, this was like this huge, amazing experience to be with friends. And I can't tell you, sometimes I hear like friends of mine, like at work, and they'll say that their wife doesn't have any friends. And I'm like, what? Why? You know, I feel like I spent my whole life living for this other person, for my ex. My whole life was like devoted to that. I think it's very important for women to know that they have to be their own person. They have to love themselves, and they have to be happy with themselves. Not that person's not going to make you happy.
Right.
You make yourself happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? That person's got to make themselves happy. Girl, guy, whatever. You know what I mean? Then we can come together and share life. But when you give of yourself and you give all of it, you give completely, what's left for you?
Right.
What do you see? So I ended up winning USOA Miss Nevada 2021 at 50 years old.
What?
Yeah! And so I'm one right now. Yeah.
I couldn't tell, but that's just me. Y'all can't see it, but I see it. Like that's outstanding. First of all, I mean that's this last year, and I really listen to you tell your story and things like that. It's painful to hear that, you know, that people still experience these things, and I'm quite sure somebody out there can resonate to being in a situation where they're doing everything possible trying to make it work and trying to understand, and they probably lose end of the stick. And I wish we just do better, man, because like, I mean, if you know as a person someone's dedicated to you, at least let them free. You have to free yourself per se. You held on for so long, and I'm glad that you were able to recreate that hurt and that pain into something more positive, because a lot of people, that might be the breaking point for them, right? I mean, some people go through those situations and they lose their will to try, and their kids are not their motivation to try to do better and things like that. And that's really, that's why I really try to highlight, the situations that women go through. And it's not just for, just for the women empowerment thing. It's just because a lot of times, a lot of women don't have the courage to say how they feel about, all the things they did to try to make things work. Because a lot of this is the narratives out here that, women don't love men anymore and blah, blah, blah. But then you hear stories like yours about you doing everything possible and you getting nothing out of it, right? No one hears those stories, right? Those are the things that, nobody hears. And it's not pleasant to hear. I mean, I commend you on transforming your experience into something to make you a much better person. You're vibrant and beautiful now, of course. And everybody can't see it. I'm sorry, I don't have video. I'm sorry, but you have to take my word for it. I would never have guessed her age at all. Just based on how vibrant and beautiful she is now, and to go through all that and to be this person she is now is something that we should all commend and appreciate. 100 pounds, man, she lost 100 pounds. That is that's a big feat, right? That's a big feat. And that's just a testament to you. You should be very, very proud of that. And to win the USOA Miss Nevada in 2021, come on now, that's big. And if no one told you today or appreciative or congratulate you for everything, which I'm quite sure people did, I'm letting you know that that's an outstanding resume that you have. And it's a really good feel-good story to know that you were able to go through. Just me hearing it, right, got me feeling a certain type of way, because I feel for people, because I know it's a lot that women go through as mothers and things like that, where they try and try and try. The world already has you at somewhat of a disadvantage, right, just because you're a woman, right? They already feel like you have to make up so much ground to be equal. And for you to go through that and digging yourself and love yourself enough to dig yourself out of it and recreate that is nothing short of amazing. Nothing short of amazing.
We all have different roads that we travel. We're all different, but yet we're the same. We all go through trials and tribulations. You know what I mean? It is all how we deal with it that makes the difference. So,
yeah, I know a lot you spoke about too. Was kind of like, I've said this in previous episodes before. I think I've had some people I've spoken with, but fear dictates a lot with us, right? Just the fear of losing something, the fear of failure. The fear dictates a lot. No matter what age you are, fear pushes a lot, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that owning that and knowing that fear is pushing you to face fear is something that I hope our listeners get out of hearing you and everything like that. So let's talk about a little bit. You start your podcast, right? And you have master classes and things like that. So this is the feel good part now. We're not going to go to the Debbie, the strong Zelda you are now, Wonder Woman you are now. You overcame all of that, right? And I just want to know, what are some of the things? What made you start the podcast? What do you talk about on the podcast? And what are some of the master classes that you do to help your experience, to help others as well?
Absolutely, Marquise. That's a great question. Thank you for asking me that. So what I offer is a online course, and basically I'll give you that link that you can share with your audience, okay. With this podcast. And it's all about becoming, just loving your authentic you and being you and loving you. And it's a whole course. It's got like 48 different chapters in it. It has a quizzes at the end of them. It's like 6 pillars. It's pretty intensive, but it's fun. And it's all about working on you, because that's what I had to do once I got through this divorce, is I had to step back and I had to do these steps, and I wrote them down, and I made basically a whole course of it that could help you and get you out of this.
Wow.
I'm also going to give you guys, and I'd love for you to give your audience a free ebook that I wrote, and it's called Self-Sabotage, Reignite Your Sparkle. And so, yeah, I want them to, thank you. And you guys, it's for free. You guys can just read this. And if you're going through, maybe just read it and see if it resonates with you and go, wow, I didn't even realize, but I am doing the same thing. And then it helps you, it tells you things and gives you ideas of how to change that and better habits to make. So getting out of those bad habits and creating new, healthier habits to live a healthier, more vibrant lifestyle and be your best self. Because that's where we all want to be, is we just want to be healthy and we want to live life and love life. Don't we?
I agree. I mean, that's invaluable. I mean, just taking the time out to, better yourself is something that I feel like a lot of us take for granted, right? And that's why I podcast, right? I try to give voices out there of people, because I'm not an expert on anything, right? I've been through, we all have our own life stories and things like that, but people being able to live through you and not make the same mistakes that you may have made, and you being able to, pull somebody up, maybe a little girl or a young girl or older woman that just doesn't know when to let go. I'm hoping that we reach those audiences when we have these episodes. All they need is that one little segment where they're hearing, like, you know what? She's right. Let me get some help. Let me get help to build myself and get myself out of this, because I feel like a lot of us sometimes we have a lot of pride. Men and women, we have a lot of pride, and sometimes you don't want to say I quit. You don't want to say that I want to start over. You're too busy living, up to everyone else's expectations of you, or what they may think of you if things don't go this way or go that way. So I really do commend you on making an outlet for those out there listening. And we'll have all of the information in the show notes for anything that she may be providing us when the episode's released. So you don't have to just write everything down word for word if you missed the letter or anything like that. We got you all covered. But I definitely recommend making that informed decision. Whether you need help or not, right? Because having things in your toolkit, I feel like is invaluable as well, because you may take some knowledge in and maybe be able to refer to someone else, and maybe they might need some help, right? It takes a lot of courage to talk about something that was screwed up and may make you look like, oh, I was crazy, oh, I didn't know when to let go, I didn't know. There's various other narratives that takes a lot of courage to be able to talk about. I really commend you for being able to talk about that, because I have gained a newfound love and respect for you just based on the fact that you were able to say that, and you're reliving a moment every single time when you have to go on these podcasts and talk about this, right? And that's not easy. That's not easy, but at the end, you still are able to, be triumphant and talk about it and say how, yeah, that's past. That was the past for me, right? You still embrace it as a lesson, but it's not anything close to what you are and who you are today and all everything you accomplish. And even accomplish even more. I believe that you really are, because you're moving in the right direction. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for I know, just put everything into perspective. I think you put everything into perspective, and that's really key to listening. That's why I podcast. I want to talk to someone who's not a millionaire or Elon Musk, anything like that. And you're someone who's regular, like normal, like us, right? Went through an experience and were able to overcome that to give hope to somebody else. Also, give some light to your story. I feel like people like you should be famous and hearing things, that you went through, that you were able to overcome. Those are real famous people, in my opinion, right? So, about your podcast, though, I forgot we talked about the Unique Sparkle podcast.
Yes.
What do you talk about there, and what made you go to the podcast route after everything you went through as well?
Well, the podcast route, because I love talking and my message, getting my message across. And, being a pageant is not about the crown. It's about what you can do in the crown. It's the voice that it gives you. So for me, the podcast is just extending myself from the pageant, telling women to be stronger. So I'm advocating healthier lives, health, self-confidence, self-esteem, all of that Your Unique Sparkle, because I believe that everybody has something special and unique about them that makes them beautiful and that they can shine on the world. So that's what it's all about. So it's got a lot of good stuff.
Well, definitely, you all go out, listen to the podcast. I'm a fellow podcaster, and I always support the podcast because one thing about podcasting that I enjoy is what makes a podcast as unique as you, right? You bring your own, no pun intended, flavor to, your podcast, right? And you telling your story, and just me hearing your story right now, you gain a new supporter in me just by me hearing, everything that you went through. I'm always, support is free, right? We always say what cost and inflation and yada, 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 but support is free. And I'm always for encouraging someone who I feel is contributing to this world where there's so many different directions to go, right? So many different ways and things that you choose to do, but somebody chose to take your experience and make it to, help other people. So that's always something commendable. So I really do thank you, Debbie, for making your time available today, for joining me today. I look forward to hearing more about you and you moving forward and everything like that. So in closing, I just want to know, how did you feel about today's episode? Do you have any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to extend to our listeners out there? And how do you feel in general?
You're starting to break up, Marquis.
Oh, I'm breaking up. I apologize. I was saying in closing, God wanted to...
It's okay. It's at the end.
Okay, it's no worries. I was saying that. So in closing, I just wanted to know if you had any closing remarks. Anything? How did you feel about today's episode, and just in general, anything you want to say to the audience before we wrap up our session?
Well, if the audience would like any kind of advice, or if they want to get a hold of me, I do health and life coaching, and they can get a hold of me at youruniquesparkle@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear any comments. And Marquis, all I could say is thank you so much for having me. Keep sharing these stories. We need people like you to do this because, there's so many people out in the world that the more we share, the stronger we can be, because all of us have issues and we all learn from each other. So I love what you're doing. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining. It was a pleasure to have you. It was fun. It wasn't fun hearing things you went through, but it's fun hearing that you overcame all of that. Let me say that nothing was fun about hearing what you went through, but I'm glad you were able to turn that into a beautiful situation, which you are today. So everybody out there, we really thank you all for listening. We appreciate you all hearing you all's time. As always, I will have all the information that you can find Debbie on social media, website, show notes, all those things like that. We have you all covered. I will recommend, reading her ebook, reaching out to her if you're feeling a certain type of way and you're just kind of a little bit nervous and don't know who to talk to. It's always good to talk to someone who maybe have went through an experience that you're like, oh, that's similar to me, right? So it takes a lot of courage for her to come up here, and I know there's a lot of people out there that may be going through something similar. We just need that little nudge or that little voice, and this episode is the voice. Well, I hope that you all hear it and helps you all, go get the help you need and grow and inspire and live. All of these things are things that we need. This is a very strong woman that I have on this episode today, and I want every woman out there who feels like they may need that strong woman to pull them. She is definitely one of the ones, because she's standing here proud, she's standing here triumphant, she's standing here, sitting here, being able to elaborate and express something that I feel like was not for the faint of heart, at all. So we thank everybody out there, wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you all listening here and your time. We make these things happen. She's in Nevada, I'm in Italy, but we collaborate together to have these great conversations for you all to enjoy. So we thank you all wherever you are in the world. I'd like to bid you a good night, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for listening to another episode of Living Your Podcast. Me and Debbie are out of here. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode Please leave an honest review, subscribe, and share. Listen to us on all platforms. Follow us and ask questions on Twitter at Marquise Podcast Mailbag. Follow us on IG at Flavor in Your Ear Podcast. And like our Facebook page, Flavor in Your Ear Podcast. For exclusive content, info, special offers, and free entry into our monthly giveaways, send your email address to flavorinyourear247@gmail.com to join our email list. If you're anxious, we have a snippet following our next episode's topic. Peace and love.
Thank you.